Hopefully it's off to a fantastic start for you here on your Feel Good Breakfast Show. Thank you so much for choosing to wake up on the right side of bed and joining us this morning. It is a Wednesday, and you know what we do on a Wednesday? We turn our focus onto the legal side of the world. We have a bit of somewhat of a free consultation with a legal expert and, of course, director at legalese.co.za. It's time for us to take a look at the unconventional side of the law. It's called So Now What? And today we're asking the question of insurance fraud. Yep, so now what? I've committed insurance fraud. What are your legal rights when it comes to anything and everything to do with insurance fraud? Good morning, Eitan.
Good morning. Nice to be here.
Very interesting topic this morning, right?
Fresh one for so early in the morning.
Absolutely. Gets your brain charged up and going.
For sure.
It sounds like a very simple term, like insurance term, but it can become quite complicated. But let's go through it. What exactly does it mean?
Okay, cool. And I guess the reason we're talking about it is because a lot of people might be committing insurance fraud and not really know that they're committing it, because a lot of these things have sort of become commonplace. So insurance fraud is any act which you can do which takes unfair advantage of an insurance company. So that can be claiming for something that wasn't actually stolen, or lying about the facts when you're trying to get an insurance policy. So it's anything which gets money from an insurance company that you weren't entitled to.
So this could be anything, or something as simple as lying about where your car is parked, for example, at night. You know that it's parked on the side of the road, but you say it's parked in an access-controlled area.
100%. So there's kind of a couple of major ways that you can commit insurance fraud. The first one would be hard fraud, where you're saying, I had a Gucci belt that was stolen, where you didn't actually have such a belt. Or you could have soft insurance fraud, which is you saying, I had a Mercedes that was stolen, where you actually had a, kind of Mazda 323 or something. And then you get fronting, which is exactly what you're saying, which is where you say, my car is actually parked in a security estate, so it brings down your premiums, but it's actually parked outside your house in a dangerous area. So these are all types of insurance fraud. Some people might never do the hard fraud and lie, but they might be fine and lying about the details. What's the harm in it? Well, I guess insurance fraud, what it does is it forces insurance. People often think it's a victimless crime, but it forces insurance companies to raise their premiums. So kind of we all end up losing a little bit. Because insurance costs get higher as more and more people commit fraud.
Do you think people is doing it just to get money out of it, or why are some of the top reasons people do this?
I suppose it's a tough one. I suppose we all pay a lot for insurance, and no one likes to pay something and not get something back. So there's sort of this, I think with a lot of people, there'll be this expectation. Also, insurance companies are generally quite rich, so, people, there's the Robin Hood kind of idea. And there's really interesting new insurance companies and insure-tech companies that are trying to look at this problem and try to figure out ways how you make communities around insurance so people are less likely to insure. So I personally do think the insurance industry is going to be shaken up in the next couple of years. It already is being. And it's because there is something that doesn't quite make sense in the whole system. But why do people do it? They do it because to make some extra money, to try to get something that back which... for what you've paid.
Ooh, it's a big conversation to have. Insurance fraud. Have you committed insurance fraud? Have you lied about a minor detail, what you thought might be a minor detail when applying for your insurance policy? Well, Eitan Stern's unpacking all of this, and we answer any of your questions on our Facebook page, Expresso Morning Show SABC3. We'll be back with part 2 of this conversation, chatting about how serious it is in South Africa and what penalties you could face.
It's my Feel Good Breakfast Show.
Welcome back to it, your Feel Good Breakfast Show, Expresso, live on SABC3. Wednesday morning, we're unpacking the unconventional side of the law. And this morning, we're asking, so now what when it comes to your rights as far as insurance fraud is concerned? Have you committed insurance fraud? Do you suspect someone in your family and your life may have committed insurance fraud? What could they face? Legal director at legalese.co.za, Eitan Stern, is here joining us this morning.
Eitan, let's talk about insurance fraud in South Africa. What is our stats looking like, and what are some of the penalties that people face if they're found guilty of this?
Sure. So it's supposed to be quite a big problem in South Africa. I suppose it's a big problem everywhere. And the insurance industry loses billions a year because of it. And there's been there are organizations that are set up to try and kind of combat it. How serious of a thing is it? Well, the stats are probably there from the insurance companies. What are the penalties? Well, for one, if you if you can be shown that you were lying to your insurance company, they're not going to pay you out. So for you as someone being insured, that's probably your most immediate serious thing that you might not be able to claim for your claim if it shows that you were lying anywhere on your policy. Number one. And number two, if you were lying and it was quite serious and you committed proper fraud, you can serve up to 5 years in jail. So, you know, it's the consequences can be quite big for lying here.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it's worth it at all.
Yeah.
But how do these insurance companies detect insurance fraud? How do they find it? How do they know?
Okay, so the idea is what they are supposed to do is when there's a claim and they suspect there's been anything that doesn't make sense, or you know, they probably do it for a certain amount of claims, they investigate, they look into it, they ask questions, they might do house visits. If you have anything stolen, you also have to report something to the police, which that means you would need to be lying to the police. The police would supposedly come and investigate. So there's an investigation that happens. And it might be that you are, you know, a fantastic criminal and being able to cover all your tracks with your lie, but it might not be. I know we once dealt with a matter of someone who had claimed that something was stolen, a camera, and police, it hadn't actually been stolen. The police rocked up at their home and they
Found it.
Found the camera, or didn't find the camera, but almost found the camera. But these things happen. People don't expect there to be investigations, but the answer is investigations. So, you know, the consequences can be quite big, so it's really important to just make sure that you tell the truth. Yeah.
What are some of the steps, for instance, let's paint a scenario. He's committing insurance fraud.
Yeah.
I obviously suspect this. What would then be the steps to make sure that we uncover this or uncover him?
Okay. Well, I suppose, you know, it's the police's job or the insurance company's job, so it's not really up to any of us. There's no obligation on any citizen to report insurance fraud. But essentially, the one thing that you can do to make sure that you don't land up in this situation would just be to tell the truth to your insurance company. Just be very clear around the details of what you're insuring, its worth, etc. And if you stick to those details, then you should be fine.
You think you have a friend until you're being reported by your friend
To the
for
insurance fraud.
some sort of fraud. But okay, so for consumers to be completely sure they do not commit or become a victim of insurance fraud, what can they do?
Okay, so again, it's just about making sure you're clear. When you are, often a lot of the insurance companies today will record you on the phone when you're getting a policy, and so they'll have details to go back to. So it's just about being very clear about what you have, what you don't have, and just telling them all the details. And if you are honest, then you are in the right. If your insurance company doesn't want to pay, then you are in the right to go and claim from them. And there's an insurance ombudsman and who you can go to if an insurance company won't pay your claim. But if it's been shown that you lied at all and tried to inflate your claim, then unfortunately the law's just not going to be on your side. So the answer to your question, Tabs, is just to, you know, when you claim from insurance or getting a policy,
Be truthful.
Honesty is the best policy. And I definitely recommend that people start looking at some of these alternative insurance companies, that the insure tech companies that are really finding nice ways to bring premiums down, to switch insurance on and off when you need it. And there's some really interesting new models out there.
Sometimes you can find yourself committing insurance fraud without even realizing or intending to do so. So be sure when you are asked the question when applying for that insurance policy, if you are unsure about the answer, rather say, I'm not sure, let me check, and then get back to them instead of just making it up, because then you might actually find yourself in hot water. Eitan, thank you so much for this.
Pleasure.